Actually, there's only two video games, Mario and Call of Duty. I don't have a physical copy of Call of Duty, but you have your imagination, so just work with me here, alright? In design terms, you can think of them as the two ends of the game's storytelling spectrum. Mario's have a dry bones plot that's only there to explain why this guy is on an adventure. You rarely have to stop for the game to explain something to you because the story is mostly you playing the game. A short hike, a street fight, and Soul Darkman are all Mario's. Call of Duties have plot everywhere, between levels, in the dialogue that distracts you from the fact you've done nothing but hold forward for the past 2 minutes, in cutscenes and set pieces that took a team of 50 people working 23.5 hours a day for 5 years to make. Last of Us, Bioslop, and Dead Dead Redemption are all Call of Duties. When people talk about the greatest stories ever told in video games, they usually talk about games on the Call of Duty side of things. And that makes sense. Those games tell their stories in a more traditionally cinematic way.
Is this Black Hawk Down?
Reviewing a game that's 80% cutscene is a lot more like reviewing a movie. There's already decades of film analysis vocabulary that you can pull from to describe how Uncharted tells its story. But Mario's have just as good, and I'd argue better stories to tell, in a way that's harder to slap together for a Game of the Year sizzle reel. That's because these games are usually about running and jumping. Kids these days call them platformers. Over the years, platformers have developed a reputation for being the iconic run, go, save the princess, paper-thin plot type of game. So I want to go through 3 platformers and look at how they tell their stories in a way that only this Mario type of game could pull off. One of them tells its story through character mechanics. Another one tells its story through level design. And the last one, well, its entire story is the gameplay. Don't worry, we can burn that bridge when we get to it. And if you stay to the end, I'll give you my social security number. Just making sure we're all on the same page here. I'm defining a platformer as a game centered around movement mechanics. Getting from point A to point B is the game. If a Nintendo Direct would pitch it as run, jump, and something else,
swing,
then it's a platformer. When I talk about plot, I mean the skeleton of the narrative, the things that happen. Story is the meat on those bones. It's what that framework contains. It's everything that constitutes the difference between actually playing a game for yourself and reading a summary of it on Wikipedia. In other words, plot is part of story, but story is the full narrative experience. If you don't get it now, don't worry. You're a smart boy. You'll figure it out. Look at him. He can learn it. He can learn it. Look at that boy. Look at this boy go. You want to talk about Sly Cooper, Hank? Huh? You're a #1 big Sly Cooper fan, aren't you? You're a big Sly Cooper fan, ain't you? Ain't you, buddy? 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 Sly Cooper is the best platformer you've never played. Over the course of the trilogy with the Wart, Sucker Punch mixed platforming and stealth mechanics to tell the story of Sly Cooper, Master Thief. I'm going to focus on the second game here, but for a more thorough analysis, you should watch B-Mask's retrospective series, and also his entire channel because it rocks my block off. I started watching Cheers because of this, limey. Sly Cooper is a raccoon with a snatched waist. But he's also a master thief from a long line of master thieves that literally wrote the book on stealing. But his family got killed and the book got stolen, so the first game was all about beating up bad guys to get the book back. Early on in Sly 2's development, John Sucker Punch came up with a one-sentence pitch.
Sly and the gang work together to pull off a string of big heists.
Going off my extremely convenient definitions, the heists are the plot, and Sly and the gang are the story. The genius of Sucker Punch's design is how well these two parts support each other. The plot of Sly 2 revolves around the final boss of Sly 1, a bird named Clockwork who hated you so much he made himself into a robot so he could hate you forever. At the end of Sly 1, you smashed him to pieces in a volcano. So naturally, Slide 2 starts off with the revelation that not only did Clockwork's parts survive, but they were stolen by a new band of drugglers. You know, drug smugglers. What call themselves the Claw Gang. So you play as Sly and his pals Bentley and Murray as you travel the world stealing the Clockwork parts back from the members of the Claw Gang. The plot falls into a solid episodic flow. You get a cutscene explaining the bad guy you're up against. You do some recon, prepare for the heist, pull it off in one huge multi-part mission, and then get one final cutscene where the cops show up and you hightail it out of there onto the next job. Okay, cool, you have a TV show. But what's the story? Slide 2 is the story of the Cooper Gang and their relationship to each other. Sly 1 is a game about Sly Cooper and two guys he can barely tolerate.
Bentley, techno genius and strategist supreme, and Murray, part-time driver and full-time burden.
Slide 2's design is centered around making you understand how this team works. In Sly 1, Sly runs in on his own, does some stuff, and then beats the boss. In Slide 2, you don't pull off a single heist you could have done without the full gang working together. In the dev team's own words, Sly 1's design is about going somewhere, and Sly 2's design is about doing something. Sly 2 is a stealth platformer, and so it follows some of the same patterns you'd find in a game like Metal Gear or Sneak King. There are two states of game, sneaking and getting caught. You get to understand Sly, Bentley, and Murray by how they play in both states. Sly is versatile. The design team wanted him to encompass anything anyone's idea of a master thief could be. He's confident, charismatic, calm under pressure. A little bit Lupin III, a little bit Nathan Drake. Sly is, essentially, the game seller. If a player doesn't pick up the controller and immediately understand why he's the main guy, they won't buy into the rest. In the same way that fighting game characters have to express their personality through their attacks, platformer characters express their personality in the way they move through the world. So, Sucker Punch sells that through Sly's animations and his abilities. Sly is always close to the ground, movement smooth and head still. His default movement is a smooth, crouching stride, more of a lurk than a walk. More than anything, Sly is agile. He has full control over the terrain, scrambling up, down, around, and across almost any obstacle. All these moves come easy to the player and to Sly. Sly only ever makes sudden movements if something's gone wrong. Unlike other platformer critters, Sly doesn't start running automatically if you tilt the analog stick all the way in one direction. You have to decide to press the shoulder button. In a game about movement, mapping something like running to a button says, hey, this isn't the default. This is a tool you have to use to solve a problem. In Sly's case, running is usually what you do when you've messed up and been spotted by a guard. When Sly shifts into his combat stance, he doesn't look panicked. He looks kind of like Ken from Street. He's on his toes, ready to swing or dodge at a moment's notice. That's the thing about Sly. He's versatile, adaptable. If you get caught, it's not over immediately. You can get in a scrap or two, but not much more than that. But if you've been paying attention, the game has already taught you that running up and picking fights isn't the right way to use Sly. Sly, more than his teammates, has control over where and when he starts a fight. If you're playing Sly right, you're prowling in the shadows, finding the perfect situation to come up and win the fight before it's even started. Sly's upgrades all encourage this playstyle as well. The smoke bomb lets you get away and lay low until you can get the drop again. The alarm clock lets you lure enemies to arrange the perfect ambush. Sly thinks on his feet. He's always 2 steps ahead. When plans go wrong, he's the guy you look to. But what if you didn't have to worry about any of that?
Thunderflaw!
Murray is powerful. Sorry, I mean,
The Murray!
is power personified. Choosing the Murray in the hideout is telling the world, I have already won. He is a force of nature. No hog, rhino, or stinky little rat can stop him. In a lot of ways, Sly is the default character. Bentley and Murray can be defined by the restrictions they have that Sly doesn't, and the abilities they have to make up for that. Sure, Murray can't shimmy up a drain pipe or walk on a clothesline.
My hulking frame is too much for that puny rope.
He is, and I quote, just like me, for real. He's actually the only character that can't crawl under tables and such. His vertical movement is limited. If he wants to get up onto a rooftop, he has to go find a stepping stone to jump off of. But for you, that's fine. Because Murray doesn't need any of that. The same streets that Sly sneaks over, Murray plows through. You're not stuck down here with them. They're stuck down here with you. Murray is an anomaly in a stealth game, because he doesn't need to worry about getting caught. In fact, more than a few guards are probably going to see you while you're making your way to the next mission, and it doesn't matter. Sly's animations sell him as most comfortable behind an enemy's back. Murray can try to sneak, but he's pretty obviously not built for it. He's most comfortable facing the threat head-on. When Sly's spotted, he goes into fight-or-flight mode. When Murray's spotted, he puts his damn dukes up, because the Murray has no flight. He's all fight. If Sly has a mission that involves a ton of guards, it's a huge deal. If Murray's doing it, that's business as usual, baby. And it communicates exactly what Murray can bring to the team that Sly and Bentley can't. In Chapter 4, 2 back-to-back missions show how wide the power gap is between Murray and the rest of the gang. In one mission, you, as the Murray, have to start a brawl and beat the snot out of 50 guards. For reference, 50 is usually about the number of guards in the entire overworld. And this job is a blast. Murray is playing Dynasty Warriors. You can just mash that square button and keep knocking these guys out easy. Meanwhile, just outside, Sly has to protect Bentley while he plans charges to destroy the power lines on a bridge. You only have to take out 16 guards, and it is a whole ordeal. You have to hide as a statue, wait for the guards to come by, do a stealth takedown on one, whack the other, and hope they don't whack back too hard, then run back and try to get back in your statue hiding spot before the next guard spots you. Even when you're not playing as Murray, power is still his defining feature. Episode 2's heist ends with him overhead pressing enormous metal wings, like 3 times his size, while Sly and Bentley run support. He is the engine of raw power that can drive the team forward. He is the Murray. Bentley is tactical. He can move about as well as Murray and is even more fragile than Sly. So, what can he bring to the gang?
Any good heist needs someone who's gonna work the bombs, and clearly that's Bentley.
Bentley is an interesting design challenge. He's the kind of character that's usually an NPC, a guy that gives missions. His greatest asset is knowing how to deploy his tools. It's like trying to make a playable Otacon. How do you turn that into fun gameplay? That's the neat part. You don't. Where Murray can solve problems through brute force and Sly can fly by the seat of his pants, Bentley is entirely inflexible. Getting into a straight fight, even just one-on-one, is almost guaranteed to lose you at least a third of your health. So to avoid this, Bentley has 2 tools at his disposal: sleep darts and bombs. Where Sly and Murray both have an easy 2-button insta-kill combo, Bentley has to find a safe spot, take aim at the threat, fire, sneak up, drop a bomb, and get away before it goes off and probably draws other guards to the same location. Having to do all this just to take out a single enemy sends a very clear message to the player. This guy wasn't made for field work. I mean, look at the helmet. He's hard to control, and choosing him severely limits the options you have in any given situation. There's no way you're choosing Bentley unless you absolutely have to. So obviously there's a full level about when you absolutely have to. Jailbreak is a phenomenal level that I never got to as a kid because I was really bad at video games and never beat level 3, but enough about that. It's where every part of the character design comes together to tell the story of the greatest heist of all: friendship. Or more accurately, stealing your friends out of jail. Chapter 3 ends with Sly, Murray, and Carmelita getting betrayed and sent to Spider Jail in Czechoslovakia, leaving Bentley all on his own. Bentley is in an impossible situation. He's used to being behind the scenes, coming up with plans for other people to pull off. Here, he essentially has to become Sly. He has to think on his feet, gather intel himself, and come up with a plan that he can pull off on his own. What follows is an incredible series of missions where Bentley pulls out everything he's got to get his friends back. What I really like about this sequence is that everything you do is something only Bentley can do. He doesn't try to do a Sly 1 job as a one-man army. Instead, he plays to his strengths. He eavesdrops on the Contessa using his sleep darts. He hacks the train terminals to make it speed up and go flying off the rail so he can make an escape route for Sly. He covers Sly's escape by using his RC chopper to take out the guards from a safe distance. It's all stuff he's done before, but repurposed and brought together to achieve the impossible. Because that's what Bentley does. All that said, this is still mostly a traditional story. The plot is still mostly delivered through cutscenes and Benakicom conversations. How am I only just now realizing this is Metal Gear Solid for kids? The gameplay works with the story in a similar way to something like The Last of Us. It doesn't communicate a lot of information you wouldn't get otherwise, but it strengthens your connection and understanding with the characters in a way that makes an otherwise simple story hit harder. So, what if we took it a step further? What if we told the story not just through game mechanics, but the world of the game itself? What if we just went psycho? Knots. Psychonauts is the best game ever made, because it's the only game that has Dogen Boole. Any game would be an all-time classic, best of the decade type game if it had Dogen Boole. So, the fact that the Psychonauts team invented Dogen Boole and then decided to keep going even though their game was already perfect, it really is a testament to, I don't know, like the human will or something, I guess.
They may come for me, Dogen, but they'll be looking for Raz, the boy. What they're going to find, what they don't expect, is Raz, the Psychonaut.
And then you'll make their heads explode?
No. Do you do that?
No. Well, once kinda.
The plot of Psychonauts is Rasputin Aquato, the only video game character I've ever named a cat after, going to summer camp and learning to explore people's minds. The core story of Psychonauts is coming to understand and empathize with this series of characters as you poke through their heads. Sly 2 defined its characters through gameplay mechanics. Psychonauts defines its characters through the world itself. A lot of what makes Psychonauts special comes from the unique environment at the studio that made it, Double Fine Games. They were a ragtag band of young, scrappy devs. Many of them were former Lucasfilm's games designers. Lucasfilm Games was known for making wacky adventure games like Monkey Island, Skeleton Desert, and Loom. In making this big debut project from his brand new studio, game designer / big boss Tim Schafer wanted to prove to everyone that he was more than just a point-and-click adventure type of guy. But turns out, that adventure game influence would be the secret to Psychonauts' success. For an adventure game to work, it needs a level of internal consistency. The world of the game can be wacky and grungy like Sam & Max, or surreal and dreamy like Pajama Sam, but it needs to have a sense of logic the player can understand. Yes, this might be a boat in my closet talking to me and telling me that he doesn't believe he can swim because wood doesn't float, but I can still reason out that if I grab this plank and show him that it floats, he'll be convinced and get in the waters where I can cross the river. If there's no logic, puzzles can't make sense. If puzzles can't make sense, the player can't solve them. If the player can't solve the puzzles, they can't play the game. Everything relies on the game world being a cohesive space where a player can immerse themselves. Without that, the game is literally unplayable. Platformers are usually the exact opposite. There doesn't need to be a reason why the world looks like this or why your guy can do a triple backflip. Your immersion isn't ruined by the fact that there's no reason for all these spike balls to be here, because it honestly doesn't matter. Psychonauts is great because everyone on the team spent so much time on all those things that don't matter. The game is fun enough to play that the platformer school of world building would have been perfectly fine, but it stands out because of how much story they managed to pack into the answers to the questions that don't matter. There are explanations for all the parts of platformers you don't usually think of. Why can Raz shimmy on ledges and pull off flying trapeze tricks? Because he was raised in a circus. Why can't he go in the water? Ancient family curse. How can you come back after dying? Your lives are layers of astral projection. Wherever you look, there's some explanation for all the tropes of the genre you usually just take for granted.
And all that is the backdrop to the real meat of the game story, the mental worlds. The main goal for most platformers is to make a space that's fun to navigate. The absolute freaks at Double Fine decided that the challenge of making a fun level simply wasn't enough for them. Instead, they added a second goal of making each level both fun to play and also a reflection of the character's entire life and how it shaped their worldview.
The first few worlds are the minds of professional psychonauts. They're good tutorials. Each one teaches you a different set of skills: movement, shooting, and teleportation. They're also the most linear levels in the game. That's because each one of these people has dedicated themselves to teaching the next generation of Psychonauts. They have a clear goal: to teach you new psychic skills. And so they've shaped their mental worlds to give you a clear goal. But if you go poking around the places they're not prepared for you to go, if you force them to go off script, you'll find the parts of themselves they were trying to hide. Mess with the machinery in Sasha 9's target course, and suddenly his tightly packed trauma comes exploding out of all sides. Go through a side door out of Mila Vodello's dance party and... These people are calm, rational, and in almost complete control of their mindscapes, so they can keep the demons in the closet. But what about someone a little less put together? What would their mind look like? The second half of the game takes Raz across the lake from the summer camp, where you explore the minds of the escaped patients of an abandoned asylum. These people are a bit less put together than the professionals you've been working with so far. They don't have as clear of a purpose right now, and so their levels are more of an open world. It's a shockingly consistent design trick. Edgar, arguably the most put together of the patients, has a world consisting mostly of a straight line with a bunch of offshoots, while Boyd and Gloria, who have more severe symptoms, have levels with tons of backtracking and exploring, trying to figure out the way forward.
It's like a rite of passage for any YouTuber who wants to sound like a real smartsy pants type of guy to talk about Milkman level. Everyone's always talking about this man's milk. Milkman World is a great example of storytelling through game mechanics, but I think Psychonauts is at its best when the world itself is the story. And by that measure, nothing can come close to Black Velvetopia.
Black Velvetopia is an exploration of the mind of Edgar Tegley, named after Edgar Lee Teg, and I really tried to see if there's any thematic parallels between game Edgar and real life Edgar, but honestly I think they just kind of looked for a Black Velvet painter name and didn't think too hard, so neither will I. Edgar has a problem. He's a painter that compulsively paints bullfights. If he paints a single portrait that isn't a bullfight, he'll be declared sane and will be allowed to leave. But he just can't do it. So Raz pops inside his head, see if he can't fix him up. See, Edgar is in the center of this city that looks like the coolest Sonic Casino level it never was, building a house of cards to try to reach his beautiful wife in the sky. Which, to be fair, I would do that too if my wife was in the sky. So, Raz heads out into the alleyways to find more cards for Edgar to build his tower. The whole level consists of you winding your way through these alleyways that branch off of one narrow road, inching forward and ducking away so you won't get rammed by El Odio. That means hatred, or, literally translated, the hate. Y'all mind if a white boy habla some Espanol? Along the way, these friendly painters, none of whom were involved in the killing of Robert F. Kennedy, tell us two stories. One is the story of world-renowned painter Edgar Tegley and his beautiful model wife Lampita, who was stolen away by the pompous bullfighter Dingo. is this guy actually supposed to be Latino? Because I don't think he knows any Spanish. The other story is the one you find in the sewers. The one about Edgar Tegley, captain of the high school wrestling team, whose girlfriend dumped him for a cheerleader on the day of the state semifinals, leaving him too depressed to wrestle. The whole level is designed around the interplay between these two stories, the one Edgar tells himself and the one that really happened. In some moments, they come together, like in this series of mini-bosses you have to fight to get the cards for Edgar to build his tower. They're 4 animal-themed luchadors that are simultaneously the real bad hombres standing in the way of Edgar's quest for Lampita and manifestations of his guilt about letting his teammates down. Quick side note here, I love what these fights show about the unique Double Fine approach to power-ups in this game. See, in Crash Bandicoot, when you get a power-up, it's usually something you can use while platforming, like a glide spin or a tippy-toe move. Raz's power-ups, on the other hand, feel very adventure gamey in their implementation. Levitation is the only move that feels like a regular platformer upgrade. The rest of them are tools that you can implement pretty flexibly into any situation, like turning invisible to avoid the eagle's attacks, or throwing this trash can onto this button to open this gate. Yes, I had to look this one up, and that's how I know it's classic adventure game design, because I'm really bad at those. In other ways, the level design points out the difference between Edgar's fantasy and his reality. Just about every YouTube video points out the symbolism of the repressed memories being literally buried beneath the streets, and yeah, it's pretty on the nose, but if it works, it works. But I think that El Odio is the smartest addition to this whole story. The level on its own is a great representation of Edgar. He's twisted his reality into an incel fantasy world where he's still the nice guy, he's just misunderstood. And as soon as he finishes this one huge gesture of devotion to his true love, everyone will see how he was the right one for her all along. He has delusions of grandeur, built to hide the fact that he just can't get over a high school breakup. El Odio is the manifestation of that unwillingness to move on with his life. It's his inability to deal with failure and rejection. Make one mistake, and boom, you go crashing back to the start. All your progress comes crashing down. Like a house of cards. It's what keeps both of you from moving forward. The hatred in Edgar's heart is the biggest, most obvious problem. So when you finally get to the end and fight it, Edgar can finally move forward with all his problems behind him. And man, what if it really did end like that? Would that be messed up or what? See, the true ending of Black Velvetopia is Edgar fully merging with El Odio, being consumed by the lingering anger of his regret. But you don't fight him. You fight Dingo, aka Dean, aka the stupid jock who always takes the girl from the nice guys like Edgar. The real solution to Edgar's problems isn't to just let go of his rage. It's the realization that the whole thing never really mattered. It's letting go of his whole fabricated identity that he built for himself. It's letting the house of cards fall down. If you decide to come back after beating Edgar's world the first time, you find him where he always was, in the center of town. But now, he's not using the cards to reach out for an unattainable idol. He's using them to play poker with some dogs. He stopped yearning, and immediately got to live out every man's dream. Tell me you don't want to hang out with these guys. Look me dead in the eyes and tell me you don't want to be exactly where Edgar is right now. This is so cool. These guys look so chill. This looks like it's a great time. I wish my dog could play poker. Black Velvetopia is an incredible example of telling a story in a way that only a video game can. It's a work of art.
Do you get it? Do you get it? You get it? You get it? Get it? Get it? Get it?
Remember that spectrum I talked about like half an hour ago, the Call of Duty to Mario axis? Psychonauts is pretty far towards the Mario end. It conveys most of its story and big parts of its plot through gameplay. But I don't think it does enough to go all the way to the Mario end. So, what does a pure Mario game look like? It's probably Centipede, but Nobody plays Mario for the plot. Everyone plays it for the story. Nintendo is the poster child for boilerplate video game plots. Go Save the Princess is the once upon a time of video games. But Mario games are never about saving the princess, in the same way that Sly is about pulling off heists, or Psychonauts is about being a plucky child therapist. If they were, then Mario would be Max Payne. Mario games are about the adventure. It's the experience of jumping into the next level, hearing the next song, hitting the next boss until he gets all big and red. Mario's story is about the wonder of discovery. It's about the excitement of having this incredible experience for the first time. It's about the challenges that frustrate you and the euphoria of overcoming them. And if you've been paying attention, I haven't said anything about the game yet because the story is about you. You learn everything you need to know about Mario Odyssey's plot in the first 5 minutes of the game, after about 30 seconds of gameplay. Bowser kidnapped Peach, and his scheme is wedding-themed this time. Mario meets a hat friend, and they team up to stop him. There's all the business with the Odyssey, what exactly Bowser is stealing, but that's all window dressing for the real story. You taking a trip as experienced through your good pal Mario.
One of the game's directors, Kenta Motokuda, described the focus of Odyssey's design as going on a journey and searching for a surprise. That experience starts with Mario himself. Mario is both the ultimate blank slate and the most important personality in the game. He has exactly one personality trait. See if you can spot it. Now imagine, just for a second, imagine if Mario had Link's personality. Wouldn't freaking work now, would it? Mario is supposed to be you. Sort of. Ideally, he's a vessel for the fun you're having with the game. He's a character that takes everything in stride, from every to every. Everything about his design, animation, and voice should come together to sell how fully committed he is to your adventure.
Even when he gets cold and does a little shiver, it's like, man, that's real. That's my guy. He is experiencing this. Again, Motokuda described it best. It makes sense if Mario is there. Remember 5 years ago when we talked about how Sly's moves are all designed around him being a master thief? Mario's moves don't really have that kind of personality, and that's by design. Sly is a character that you're controlling, expressing his personality through your inputs. Mario is an extension of you. Movement in Mario games famously has a super high skill ceiling. The one time it didn't, Mario's movement, above all else, feels free. Because moves are both varied enough to string together for a variety of obstacles, and clear and consistent enough for you to figure out that combo yourself. Jumps, dives, and rolls all need to be versatile. He's the Wahoo Man. He provides the energy, but you're the one doing the movement. And look, I know it's been talked to death, but honestly, if you're looking for the spot where Odyssey's movement mechanics shine the brightest, there is an objectively correct answer. The Lake Kingdom. New Donk City is just one of the most fun levels Nintendo has ever designed. The densely packed structures give you so many opportunities to use every tool available to you to just clamber around the big ol' urban jungle gym. Whoever had the idea to just let you capture a little pole and flick away like whee is the biggest genius since John Eyeballs inventing cataracts. And I know it might sound obvious, but it is incredibly important that these worlds are fun to explore, because that fun is the story. This is the most important difference between Odyssey's story and the other two stories we've talked about. Those stories were narrative. This story is an experience.
Let me put it this way.
A Mario game has story in the same way that going for a walk has a story. You have some goal that gets you at the door. Buy some eggs, save the princess, make a phone call, rekindle the flame. But that's not what you remember by the time you're home. Maybe you saw a cool dog and stopped to pet him. Maybe the sunset hit the trees at just the right angle and you didn't even take a picture. You just had to stop and look at it. Maybe someone was having a cool yard sale. Or maybe someone was having some trouble carrying groceries, so you gave them a hand. Maybe you had a chance to catch up with a neighbor you hadn't seen in a while. Or maybe you met one of the neighbors you didn't know yet. And then maybe you get home and you tell Hank about what you saw or what you did. And he might get it, but I mean, look at him. You can communicate the plot of your walk just fine. But it takes a different skill set entirely to get the story across. And this is the wall I hit every time I try to analyze what is a Mario story. I've written and deleted what feels like 3 videos worth of scripts for this section. It feels redundant to just say, Metro Kingdom is cool and fun and has good music, and that makes me happy. Moon Cave is hard and has intense music, and that makes me feel angry. But then I feel happy again, because wow, I beat it, good job me. And I am fully aware of how pretentious this part especially has sounded. Oh wow, a Mario game is like going outside? How about you go outside in real life? Dumbass.
So let me move my own goalpost a little bit. What exactly are Mario and these other Mario Spectrum games I've talked about doing as platformers that other genres can't? I mean, searching for adventure, discovering new worlds, that's Uncharted, that's Alan Wake, that's Eldest Ring, the second book in the Inheritance cycle. What do Mario-type games have that can get them on the same footing story-wise as other games that have paragraphs of lore and $500 million cutscenes and hair physics? To answer that question, I have to get even more pretentious. Have you ever seen Eraserhead?
It's David Lynch's first feature film. It's weird. Like most surrealist film, it has a plot, but the plot is always secondary to the feeling of the scene. Most of the movie is made up of sequences that on the surface seem to be nonsense, but all of these sequences combine very specific imagery in a very specific way to evoke a very specific emotion. You can watch Eraserhead, and you can read a synopsis of it, and you will have 2 entirely different experiences. So, am I really saying that Mario Odyssey is a Lynchian masterpiece? Yeah, basically. That's the main advantage these Mario-type games have over more traditionally narrative games. It's the connecting thread between New Super Mario Bros. Wii and Dark Souls. They're not necessarily surrealist, but a lack of focus on a traditional plot structure means you can design for a different experience. Instead of carrying a story, you can design to communicate a character, explore state of mind, or evoke a specific emotion. The more something approaches that Mario end of the spectrum, the more they approach that surrealist school of thought. What matters isn't the thing itself as much as what the thing makes you feel. I know I could go in depth about the design of New Donk City or the Darkest Side of the Moon and all the little ways they manipulate your emotions, but honestly, it's not worth your time or mine, for the same reason it's not worth our time to read the Wikipedia summary of Eraserhead. They're designed to be an experience first. They're stories told by the simple acts of running and jumping. These are some of the most human experiences we can have. The stories that we make just by inhabiting our space and being part of it. In real life, you're probably not some prophesied hero or unstoppable force. You're probably just some creature making your way through the world. And there are plenty of stories you can tell just like that.
Seven. Subscribe for the next 8 digits.